Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is playing out this massive bullish signal that is now confirmed on the larger timeframes for the first time in over a year. But in the shorter term, Bitcoin is now running into key resistance and starting to play out a short-term bearish divergence, while Ethereum is currently rejecting from key resistance as well, while Solana is also playing out a new bearish divergence here in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before we take a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the Bitcoin news today, because on Tuesday we saw a huge net inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. First of all, as I mentioned in my last video, we already saw a pretty large net inflow on Monday that was just under $500 million, around 479 million US dollars. But on Tuesday, we saw a net inflow of around 870 million US dollars flowing into the Bitcoin ETFs just on Tuesday in one single day. And out of all of the individual ETFs here, the largest inflow was indeed into the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF. So right now, BlackRock is continuing to buy massive amounts of Bitcoin because basically they're getting huge inflows from investors buying the ETF shares. And then BlackRock takes all of that money that they get from the ETF share sales and they get that money to buy Bitcoin in order to back the ETF shares, which is what gives the ETFs value. And so effectively just on Tuesday, we saw around $642 million coming into just the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So essentially BlackRock bought roughly around $640 million worth of Bitcoin just on Tuesday alone. That is just BlackRock. And so obviously with Bitcoin being a very finite asset with a strict supply limit, if this massive buying pressure continues over a long period of time, this will ultimately cause some sort of supply squeeze where there won't be enough Bitcoin to go around, and that will force the price of Bitcoin much higher if we continue to see these large inflows moving forward. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, looking at the weekly Bitcoin chart and the weekly Bitcoin MACD, and what we've seen over the last few weeks here is indeed a crossover in the MACD in the bullish direction from previously seeing some bearish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. As we've seen for most of this year, especially around the middle of the year, we actually saw a bit of bearish momentum and basically a bit of a larger bearish trend on these larger timeframes for the most part of this year. But just recently, the weekly Bitcoin MACD, once again over the last few weeks or so, has now flipped back into the green, and this has now been confirmed with 2 weekly candle closes. So this is obviously a bullish signal, and the last time we saw a major crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD from bearish back into the bullish direction, showing a picking up in bullish momentum on the larger timeframes, was about a year ago in last October last year, and what came next was a major bull run over the next half a year, give or take. And so if history simply repeats, then obviously over the next few months, maybe over the next half a year, that sort of time frame, we should be expecting potentially a bull run in the price of Bitcoin. So basically a larger bullish trend here on the larger time frames. But it is also important to understand that even during these bull runs, we can see the occasional short-term dump or short-term pullback along the way during the bull run. So keep that in mind. On the larger time frames, we're looking very bullish, but in the short term, on the small time frames, from time to time, it's very normal to see the occasional pullback along the way up. And if we're taking a look at the 4-day Bitcoin chart right now in the super trend indicator, this is already flashing this bullish signal as I mentioned in my last video. So over the last 1 day, not a lot has changed here on this chart right here. So getting straight into the 2-day time frame, and we could say the same thing about this chart. Over the last 1 day, nothing has really changed here on this chart. We're still looking very bullish as of right now, as I've been saying basically every day over the last few weeks on this chart right here. And if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, obviously we're continuing the breakout for this bullish cup and handle pattern with a price target at around $80,000. But between now and that price target, we do have resistance to watch out for. Basically just this area of resistance sitting in between around 72,000 to 74,000. And at least for now, the price is starting to somewhat struggle around this area of resistance as expected, because obviously over the last few days, I've been warning that this is the next major area of resistance and basically the final area of resistance before new all-time highs, once again in between 72,000 to 74,000. So in the short term, expect the price to struggle in this area. But ultimately, once we eventually see some sort of breakout here, once we can confirm some daily candle closes, for example, above 74,000, in that case, that would be a very bullish signal here on the daily time frame, likely sending the price much higher, because obviously at that point would be breaking into new all-time highs. But it is worth considering that right now on the daily time frame, the daily Bitcoin RSI is starting to enter into overbought territories, which means in the immediate short term, we could see a slight little cool off. So basically a bit of a break or a slowdown from all of this bullish price action here, but not necessarily the end of this bullish trend. Because for example, the last time we saw an overbought signal in the daily Bitcoin RSI was roughly around 1 to 2 weeks ago. And what we saw after that was a bit of a short-term pullback over the next few days, but not the end of this bullish trend. Ultimately, we continued the bullish trend with that latest pump higher later on, but obviously just in the short term for the next few days, it meant that we're due to see a bit of a reset in the RSI. So basically a slight pullback and a slowdown from the bullish momentum just in the short term during the larger bullish move. And so once again, when it comes to the larger move, the larger momentum on the larger time frames, I'm still very bullish, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel. But just in the immediate short term, we could see a bit of a struggle around this resistance and a slight little cool off, a slight little slowdown from this bullish momentum here, just maybe over the next few days or so, in order to reset the RSI, which can give us more room to the upside later on as we're getting ready for that major all-time high breakout. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, just on the 1 hour Bitcoin chart, this is the imminent short term here. Right now, we do technically have a new bearish divergence that has already confirmed and has already started to play out here, as we can see, in the form of a slight cool off, just a very small pullback, but mostly neutral price action. And so there's a good chance that we'll continue to play this out, potentially over the next 1 day as well, as a most likely scenario. So expect this type of price action just in the imminent short term. But once again, when we're zooming out, this is currently occurring within a larger bullish movement. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a 500 USDT position airdrop. So basically a free $500 trade, which you can claim on Bybit as your first trade over on Bybit if you actually use that link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitnex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitnex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitnex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitnex down below this video, and if you use that link, you can get up to a 5.5k deposit bonus, and only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitnex exchange forever. But that is only if you use that link below this video to make your Bitnex account. And so as another option out there, one that you can access from the US, there is Bitnex. Once again, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, this is looking at the last 1 year worth of price action, because in the imminent short term, we've already wiped out a lot of the short term liquidity. So zooming out, looking at the larger perspective here, we do have a major level of liquidity sitting right at around 74,000. And so if we can see a breakout above 74,000, that will likely trigger a short squeeze, sending the price much higher into the higher 70k price range, maybe closer towards $80,000 if we can first break out above around 74,000. But once again, maybe over the next 1 or 2 days, we could see a bit more of a short-term cool-off before eventually seeing that all-time high breakout, because we basically need to build some more momentum again by first giving us some more room to the upside in the RSI by seeing a bit of a reset here before seeing that breakout. But ultimately, we're very close to breaking into new all-time highs. We just need to confirm a breakout above 74,000. And above that level, we also have a major area of liquidity in between around 75,000 to 78,000 as well. So just keep that in mind. We have that major area of liquidity where we could also see a continued short squeeze, sending the price much higher, likely up towards around $80,000 $3,000 to complete this bullish price target. And so overall, especially on the larger time frames, when we're zooming out, we're looking very bullish right now, as I've already been saying over and over again for a while now on the channel. Just in the short term, maybe for the next day or so, we could see a little bit more of a short-term cool-off. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now we're still looking relatively neutral here for Ethereum, as the price is basically within a massive sideways price range in between the golden pocket as support and this Fibonacci level as resistance. First of all, resistance is still sitting at around 2.8k and support is still sitting in between around 2150 to 2.2k. So we need to break out above 2.8k with confirmation. So candle closes above 2.8k in order to flip much more bullish again for Ethereum. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour time frame right now, we are struggling around this key area of resistance that I've been warning about over and over again here on the channel, and that's sitting in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. And at least at the time of recording this video, at exactly this area, right as the price entered this area, we started to struggle in this area, and so far we're seeing a very slight rejection from that area of resistance as expected. So that is still acting as very strong resistance, which means continue to expect the price to struggle in this area. But once we can eventually at some point see a breakout above 2.8k, that is when we can finally flip much more bullish again, expecting a larger bullish move well into the 3,000 price range, only if we can first break out above 2.8k. But for now, the price structure, at least here on the 12-hour time frame, is obviously looking more bullish than bearish, as we are technically forming higher lows and higher highs as of right now, which is bullish price structure. So obviously things are looking slightly more bullish than bearish here in the shorter term, but we are running into key resistance as well. So just keep that in mind. And if we're taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, this bullish divergence has essentially already played its part over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now, because as I mentioned in my last video here on the channel, the 4-hour Ethereum RSI is getting close to overbought territories, which is a sign that we're coming to an end for this bullish divergence here, which means in order to expect more bullish price action beyond this point, we need to see other bullish signals confirm, like for example, a confirmed breakout above this resistance, which for now has not obviously happened. And ultimately, we'll likely see similar price action here for Ethereum in the short term as what I said for Bitcoin, because usually Ethereum follows along with what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin has a major breakout here into new all-time highs, there's a very good chance that that will help the price of ETH break out above this resistance as well. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the daily time frame, right now we're seeing an exact perfect rejection from this pretty much exact area of resistance as expected, in between around 183 to 187, because obviously, as I've been warning for a long time now on the channel, we have very significant resistance in that price range, and so far we've seen a rejection from pretty much exactly 183, give or take. So for now, that is still acting as strong resistance, so just keep that in mind. But if we can see a confirmed breakout with a daily candle close above around 187, in that case we also have more resistance up here in between around $200 to $210. And obviously if we break out above 210, they'll be breaking out above the March high, which would be very, very bullish. But for now, we still have a lot of resistance to break out above first. And in terms of the daily Solana RSI, we are not currently in overbought, so technically we still have more room to the upside, but we would likely see similar price action in the short term as what I said for Bitcoin, for example. And ultimately, in terms of the larger price structure, things are obviously still looking more bullish than bearish, as we are playing out this bullish inverse head and shoulders pattern with a bullish price target at just above $200. But as I always say, the price does not move in a straight line straight to the upside towards these price targets. We often see the occasional pullback along the way up, and obviously we cannot ignore resistance. It's usually around resistance where we see the price struggle, which is what we're seeing right now. And especially when we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing this new bearish divergence, which has now confirmed. Obviously, I mentioned in my last video that we're potentially forming a new bearish divergence, and since that last video, this has now confirmed, with higher highs confirmed in the price in the candle closes and lower highs now confirmed here in the 4-hour Solana RSI, which means we've essentially lost some bullish momentum just in the short term. We're still looking bullish in terms of the larger price structure, but in the immediate short term, we've lost a bit of bullish momentum. So we're due to see a bit of a pullback or a bit of a cool off, essentially, maybe for a couple of days or so, before eventually at some point continuing the bullish trend later on. And as for short-term support, we're currently running into this area in between around 171 to 173, acting as support. But if we break back below 171, in that case, the next area of support to watch out for in the short term is sitting in between around 162 to 164. And so that is the current situation for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and will likely translate to the overall crypto market. Essentially, the larger price structure for a lot of these cryptos, especially Bitcoin and Solana, the larger price structure is still looking very bullish right now. Just in the immediate short term, we're seeing a bit of a cool off with these short-term bearish divergences playing out, and of course, the price running into key resistance. But as always, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.